Most people see a pile of junk. They see oxidized aluminum, cracked rubber, and a mechanical corpse that hasn't breathed in 30 years. They see a liability, a waste of space and money. But a specific kind of person looks at this wreckage and sees something else entirely. They don't see what it is. They see what it was, and more importantly, what it could be. To them, this isn't a machine. It's a puzzle, a sanctuary, a quiet rebellion against a world that has forgotten how to fix things. Today, we're going inside the garage and the mind to understand the unique psychology of those who choose the difficult, greasy, and often illogical path of motorcycle restoration. In our modern world, we are surrounded by the invisible. Our work is digital. Our social lives are algorithmic. When our successes are often just numbers moving from one screen to another. We live in a state of high-speed abstraction. But when you step into a garage to restore a vintage motorcycle, the abstraction vanishes. The world condenses, the noise fades, and suddenly, everything that matters fits in your hands. This isn't just a hobby, it's a psychological re-anchoring. It's the process of taking a world that feels increasingly out of control and narrowing it down to a single 10mm bolt. By the time we're done, you'll see that restoring a bike isn't about the machine at all. It's about restoring the human who's working on it. The first reason people obsess over restoration is what we might call the tangibility gap. Psychology tells us that humans are effector-driven creatures. We are biologically wired to derive satisfaction from seeing our physical actions produce immediate, physical results. This is called competence mastery theory. In 1950, your grandfather might have spent his day building a house or milling steel. He could look back at sunset and see exactly what he accomplished. Today, you might spend 8 hours optimizing workflows or attending sinks. By 5 p.m., you have nothing to touch, nothing to show for your life force. You've moved invisible data across invisible networks. You've contributed to processes you barely understand. You've been productive, they tell you, but you don't feel it. Restoration closes that gap. When you spend 3 hours cleaning a single carburetor, you aren't just working. You are providing your brain with a rare, concentrated dose of visual confirmation. In every layer of grease you remove is a micro-win. Every part you polish is a signal to your nervous system that you are competent. Your hands speak a language your screen never could. In a world where your impact feels theoretical, the garage is the only place where the results are honest. The bike doesn't care about your job title or your social status. It doesn't care how many meetings you attended or how well you performed in the quarterly review. It only responds to the quality of your work. And that simplicity, that brutal honesty, is psychologically liberating. This brings us to the second pillar, the completed stress cycle. Modern life is a series of open loops. We worry about taxes, climate change, our career trajectory, our health, our relationships. Problems we can't solve in a single afternoon. That this leaves our bodies in a state of chronic, low-level fight or flight. Our stress never finds a finish line. We carry tension in our shoulders because our minds are carrying unfinished business. Always. But a motorcycle engine is a closed system. It has a beginning, a middle, and an end. When you finally hear that engine roar to life after months of silence, after the frustration, the stripped bolts, the parts that didn't fit, the manuals that lied, your brain experiences a profound neurochemical release. It is a completed stress cycle. You faced a surmountable challenge, you applied a specific skill, and you achieved a definitive resolution. Psychologically, this acts as a reset button for the anxious mind. It's why restorers often say they feel more like themselves in the garage than anywhere else, that they aren't just fixing a machine. They are finishing something. And in a world where nothing ever feels truly done, that completion is sacred. But there's a deeper, more emotional layer to this. Why an old motorcycle? Why not just buy a new one that works perfectly? Because we live in a disposable culture. We are taught that when something breaks, you throw it away. When it's old, it's useless. When it no longer serves its original function, it has no value. We've extended this logic to objects, but secretly, we fear it applies to us too. We fear that when we slow down, when we make mistakes, when we show our age, we too will be discarded. Restoring an old bike is a quiet rebellion. It is an act of defiance against the idea that the past has no value, against the idea that only the new, the fast, the efficient deserves to exist. But when you rescue a machine from a scrap heap, when you see potential where others saw trash, you are participating in a narrative of resurrection. There is deep psychological comfort in the idea that deterioration can be reversed, that damage isn't permanent, that rust is not destiny, that with enough patience, enough care, enough stubborn refusal to give up, something forgotten can become the most beautiful thing in the room again. For the restorer, the bike is a surrogate for their own resilience. If this machine can come back from the dead, maybe they can too. Maybe the parts of themselves they thought were broken beyond repair, the patience they lost, the focus they gave away, the confidence that eroded, maybe those can be restored too. There is also something profound about the solitude of restoration. You don't restore a bike in a crowd. You don't do it for applause. You do it alone, in the quiet, often late at night when the world has stopped demanding things from you. And in that solitude, something shifts. The garage becomes a sanctuary, a place where time moves differently. You lose track of hours, not because you're distracted, but because you're focused, completely, entirely. Psychologists call this flow, the state where challenge meets skill and the self dissolves into the task. But it's more than that. It's also a rare opportunity for what philosopher Matthew Crawford calls manual competence, the knowledge that lives in your hands, the instinct that tells you when a bearing is seated correctly, when a throttle cable has the right tension, when something feels right, even if you can't articulate why. And this is knowledge that cannot be Googled. It must be earned, felt, lived, and once you have it, it changes you. Because you realize that you are not helpless, you are not dependent, you are not just a user, you are a builder, a problem solver, a person who can take chaos and turn it into order. If you look at the math, motorcycle restoration makes no sense. You will spend more on parts than the bike will ever be worth. You will lose hundreds of hours of sleep. You will have permanent grease under your fingernails. Your friends will ask why you don't just buy something new. Your family will wonder when you'll finish. The world will tell you it's not practical. But the restorer knows something the world doesn't. They know that unmonitored time is the most precious thing we have. Time spent without someone watching, without metrics, without performance reviews or productivity tracking. Time spent simply doing something because it matters to you. They know that in a world moving at digital speed, the only way to find yourself is to slow down to mechanical speed. To strip a carburetor at 11 p.m. on a Tuesday, not because you have to, but because you need to. Because in that moment, you are not playing a role. You are not performing. You are not trying to be anything other than what you are. You are just present. In the end, they aren't building a vehicle to go from point A to point B. They are building a vessel for their own mastery, a monument to their own patience, a proof, written in torque specs and paint layers, that they are capable. They are proving that in a world of fake work, real work still exists. That in a world of disposable everything, Just some things are worth saving. That in a world that moves too fast, there is still value in moving slow. Because when the world feels broken, when you feel broken, sometimes the only thing you can do is fix what's right in front of you. And in doing so, you might just fix yourself.